This is gonna be the last week without the bus parked right here in the driveway. Or at least it better be. Ignore the bus seats that are out here right now. We're finally getting rid of them. Okay, well guys, I was gonna go to the mechanic obviously. I tried to call them earlier to see if the bus was gonna be in the shop or not today. I got an answering machine, so I was like, oh, whatever. I'll just go later and just try it out, see if it's there. And guess what? It's in the shop, which is good. I'm not mad that it's in the shop. Ah, dude. I was gonna tell a story about how I got here kind of from inside the bus while I did some work on the bus. I'm just gonna tell a story from in my house, I guess. I was gonna make some tea in the bus and tell this story. I'm gonna make some tea still. We're gonna have a little tea time together, but I'm gonna tell a story from my office downstairs. Alrighty, so since you guys didn't get to see the bus today and I didn't get to see the bus today, here's a picture of it. That's the best I can do right now, unfortunately. I feel like I've talked about this numerous times on my channel before, but I know there's a lot of new faces. And with the bus coming back next week, and then only a few more short weeks of little odds and ends to tie up until we're on the road traveling, I figured it would be kind of nice to tell the story of how I got here. This isn't the first time I'm traveling. I just turned 24 and I've been traveling since I was like 18, 19 by myself. So I think it's time to tell a little story here on the channel. Take a little sip of tea here. Let's get into it. I think that travel has just always been kind of ingrained into me as a child because my family used to go on a trip every year. At first it was just kind of like vacation where we would go to like Myrtle Beach or something in South Carolina, and then that kind of turned into more travel oriented stuff. And the one year we did go out west. We rented a minivan and we drove for like 23 or 24 days or something, just in a big loop, and saw a bunch of the states and national parks and whatnot out there. I pestered my parents so much when I was little to get a camera because I just wanted to take pictures, I wanted to make videos, that's all I wanted to do. And then they finally got me a point and shoot, brought that on every trip, and then I just started taking pictures. So this picture was a picture I took in Salt Lake City, Utah with my little point and shoot when I was in like 6th grade. 2016. 2016 is when I graduated high school and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with life, so I was gonna follow the normal path, go to college. I was trying to find any way possible to not do school. It didn't feel like the path that I was supposed to take, so I started my first clothing company and it was just like, this is gonna be my way out of school. Spoiler alert, it wasn't my way out of school. During that first year, I actually had a scholarship. So I was going to school completely for free off of my academics from high school, and I was actually getting money back because my scholarship was more than tuition at the branch campus I went to instead of the main campus. So I went to Penn State, but a branch campus of Penn State. When the photography class rolled around, I had money to buy a camera. So I used the money that the school was giving me to buy my camera, which is kind of crazy because they kind of like jump-started my career anyway, just like college would for anyone who's going into a normal career path, right? It jump-started my creative career too because I was able to purchase a camera and a computer to edit my photos on, so thank you, Penn State. So that second semester came around and I was taking that photography class. And I think one of the first assignments was landscape photography, and I immediately, a spark lit in my head again, and I fell in love. Then as the semester continued along, all I wanted to do was shoot my own stuff. I ended up getting a C in my photography class, which I always think is kind of funny. Then spring break rolled around. I didn't do anything on my spring break. But then my other friend had spring break the week after my spring break. That friend has family out in Arizona, so he asked me if I wanted to join him on a trip to Arizona during his spring break, which meant I was gonna have to skip a week of class, and I was like, yeah man, I'm not going to class. I don't want to be there anyway. I bought my ticket and I went to Arizona with my friend, and thank God I did because that trip changed my life forever. We rented a car, so every day on that trip we would go from Sun City to somewhere else in the state and then come back to Sun City to sleep. I'm pretty sure we worked south to north, and by the last day it was time to go to the Grand Canyon. We woke up super early. The sun wasn't up. It was still dark outside. We started driving, and as the sun was coming up over the mountains of Arizona, hot air balloons were going up into the sky. It was like such a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness. And then we finally got to the Grand Canyon a few hours later, and we saw a park ranger over near the trail map, and we were like, what's one of the hardest trails to do that's not going to have too much foot traffic? Told us which one to go on. We did that, and we made it probably not even really halfway down the canyon. We were like, oh no, the sun is already setting. That's crazy. We need to hurry up and get back up because we had plans to go watch sunset at the Snow Bowl in Flagstaff. So we were booking it back up, and I had all my gear with me, all my camera gear and everything with me. So I had like a 25, 30 pound backpack, and I'm like running up to the top of the Grand Canyon just to find out that the sun was just blocked by the canyon. Like, the sun was not setting at all. And this is where the story gets crazy. After sunset, we got back in the car and started driving back down towards Sun City. As we're sitting there in traffic, I'm kind of looking out the window in the passenger seat, and I'm looking up and I see the sky filled with stars. A friend decided to take the closest exit. We drove about a mile down the road and there was a pull-off. It was like perfectly placed. Got out of the car and the sky was just littered with stars. I took out my camera and I shot this photo. And this photo will pretty much forever change my life from that point. I remember I got home and I got in the car, and I had already been telling my mom, like, I don't want to go to school next year. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't want to do it. On the way home, I was telling that story to her, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do photography. I'm going to travel, and I'm going to figure out how to make money doing this. And she saw the passion in my eyes, and she was all for it. So now we're on to the next chapter, kind of the story. Chapter 2, I like to call it. You know, chronological order. It's chapter 2. The semester ends and I go on a ton of trips that year. Started out going to the Finger Lakes in New York with a group of my friends. Then in July, I went to Maine with 2 of my friends. And then from Maine, I had already made this plan, and this was one of the biggest steps that I've ever taken.
Wow, can't believe I'm doing this.
I got myself a DNA test, and I decided that when I get the results back, I'm gonna book a ticket, and I'm gonna travel my ancestry through Europe.
A decent amount of spit. I am nervous.
I love you. I got a French hot dog. Just like that, made it some alive. So I'm just gonna say it. I love Rome. Is there a proper way to yodel?
Of course it is.
Ricola!
6 countries, 17 cities, 26 days. I was so tired by the time that trip ended, but I learned so many valuable lessons along the way about myself, about travel, about other people, culture, whatever it might be. And then I got home and I thought that I was gonna be super just beat and tired of travel, and I wasn't gonna wanna travel for a little while, and that was just not the truth at all. Got back in my car, I drove up to Canada. I went to Canada for a couple of days.
Welcome to Canada, we made it!
And then for my birthday, I went down to the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. The next month I went to Miami, and then I went to Cape Coral, and by this time I started working with brands. And then the money started running out because the brands were cool, but they weren't paying enough to continue the full lifestyle of it. They weren't paying for the whole trip. And I had enough money for one more trip. Flew back out to Arizona with the same friend I did the year before on his spring break. We rented an SUV this time, and we drove 1,600 miles in 6 days in an SUV and slept in the back. And that's kind of what ignited the spark about the bus.
Last night was rough, it was really cold, and I thought I heard a coyote when I was outside barking.
That was probably still to date one of my favorite trips of my life. When I came home, I didn't have really any money left over to do too much more traveling, so I kind of said, I gotta figure out a new way. And that's when Airbnb photography came into play. In May of 2018, I found a cabin that had an Instagram page in New York, upstate New York, only about 2.5 hours away from where I live. And I hit them up and asked if I could go shoot content at their place in exchange for a free stay.
I'm gonna give you all my
from there, my Airbnb mind blossomed. I started shooting cabins for free at first, and then I started charging money to do listing photos, marketing content, house tour videos, etc., etc.
Whispering, I'm gonna give you all my love, wildflower.
Some of these places I was shooting were tiny homes, and I was like, that would be really sick if I could do like a bus or a van. So I had the idea to do the bus in February, I believe, of 2019. And it took me a year and like 3 or 4 months to finally pull the trigger when the pandemic was just taking over everything and I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't go to Airbnbs in New York. I couldn't do what I had to do with that. So I decided now's the time. So I bought the bus. And then, as you guys know, I converted that bus for a year and 4 months. It just looks so freaking good, man. Here we are, present day. We're gonna be getting the bus back a few short days, probably. Another half a week. I'm not sure exactly how long, but it's been a wild ride. And I'm really, really excited to get back on the road and make content and shoot and follow the before I die message, and enjoying what life has to offer, because there's really so much that life has to offer and we only get one shot here on the planet. So you got to make the best out of everything you're given. I know it's a little bit of a different video than you're used to, but hey, we're going to be doing travel coming up here pretty soon. So I figured I'd plant the seed a little bit. The bus is coming back. I have a bunch of content that I'm ready to make and excited to make. I think next week's going to be looking a lot brighter. We're going to be on the road real soon. So thank you guys so much for watching, and without further ado, I'll catch you next week. Peace.